Live from New York. Happy Halloween. It is a Tuesday. My name is Nathan Harvey. This is the Harvey Hour. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Good to have you in on a Tuesday.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah. People are trick-or-treating, having a good time. I hope everyone out there is having a good time as well. We got a pretty big show. We had football. We had breaking news. We had a lot going on over the weekend. We have movement. The trade deadline happened at 4 p.m. today. We have some movement. The 49ers, when you go low, what do you got? You got to buy yourself. They got Chase Young for, I think, a third-round pick. People were talking about how bad their defense was. How about this? Let's buy our way to victory, maybe, see if that's the problem. Although I'll say this, 17 points in every single one of those 3 losses. And that's about the defense. Some of it is. I'll give it some of it is. Joe Burrow tore through that defense. We also had more movement. The Commanders are selling their way out. They got rid of Sweat. They got rid of Young. They're probably going for, I would say they're going for draft capital to build around maybe Sam Howell. I have no idea. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. But we do have some topics. We got some breaking news that broke, I think, at 2 a.m. last night. And this was sort of the news we were waiting for, at least if you're following the NBA. And that has to do with James Harden. So James Harden has been traded to the Los Angeles Clippers, which I don't think is that big of a shocker, strictly because that's the place he's been campaigning for the longest time. So I want to know, does James Harden to the Clippers, by the way, it's for 4 players, 4 picks, and a first-round pick swap. Does this make the Clippers better, worse, or are they just the same with James Harden?
I think it makes him better, right? I mean, he led the league in assists last year. And the Clippers have some guys that you can get the ball to that can shoot it. So I think this definitely makes the Clippers better. And now they have arguably 4 guys who are among the best, although Westbrook has not been so great in the recent years, but still, he is a pretty big name, and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are still elite players. So Harden bringing the ball up and distributing to those guys, I think it makes the Clippers a lot better.
And I'm gonna disagree with you that it makes them better strictly for this reason. So when I'm taking a look at this team, what's the makeup of the team, right? So Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are obviously your 1s and your 2s. Obviously, you can call them 1A, 1B. 1 and 2, for me, it doesn't matter. Russell Westbrook, while I agree with you, yes, recently he hasn't been the best player, at least when he was with the Los Angeles Lakers. When he was with the Clippers, and especially, I understand it's a very, very small sample size, but so far this season, he's been pretty good. He's 11, 7, and 6 on 60% shooting from the floor, and the big one, 50% from 3. Now, his free throw percentage, I don't believe he shot a free throw. He missed 1 free throw. So he's 0% on free throw percentage. But
free throw, that's it?
1 singular free throw this season. But on the Clippers, his numbers, there's a tiny bit of a drop. But efficiency-wise, he's shooting the ball better when he was with the Clippers. I also have a concern with this. James Harden, when by the way, he was going to go back to Houston. Ime Udoka was open to bringing him back to Houston and being his head coach. It was when James Harden said he wanted to go back to being the number 1 scoring option where Ime Udoka took a step back and says, yeah, we're not going to give you that big contract. We're not going to give you that big extension. So if his mindset is, I want to be the number 1 scorer on this team, there's going to be some problems because Paul George last season had a great season, albeit he was hurt. He had basically 24 points on 45% from the floor and 37% from 3. Kawhi Leonard last season, while he was dealing with an injury, still shot 23 points per game on 51% from the floor and 41% from 3. So they have their 1 and 2 scorers. James Harden, while he could be a great piece and I would say scoring could be his plan B, his number 1 option, his number 1 mindset now needs to be a pass first point guard. Because last season, like you mentioned, led the league in assists.
Well, wasn't he passing first then if he led the league in assists last year? I would think so.
But if his mindset,
I mean, he wouldn't have led the league in assists if his shoot first was his option.
Well, when you talk about in the offseason, I want to become a number one. I want to go back to being the league's top scorer.
Is that what he said?
Clearly, you're not thinking pass first. If you're coming in saying, "Oh, by the way, if I go to Houston, I want to be what I used to be, dropping 34 points a game."
Maybe his perspective has changed a little bit, given all the hassle he had to get traded. You know, and now they probably. I would think the Clippers kind of told him what his role is going to be before they gave up all of those picks and players to get him.
Well,
right.
Let's bring up the trade. This was the trade for James Harden. So it was James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petrusev to the Clippers and the Sixers. I mean, the amount that they got, maybe not necessarily the quality, but the amount they got is ridiculous. So they got 3 forwards and a forward center. So they got Kenyon Martin Jr., Marcus Morris Sr., Nick Batum, Robert Covington. So those are 4 players right there. Then you got 4 picks and a pick swap. 2 first-round picks, 1 that's protected. And then you also have so it's 2026 first-round pick, that's the protected one. The 2028 first-round pick. Then you have a 2029 first-round pick swap. And then you have a 24 second-round pick and a 29 second-round pick as well. Now, when I look at this, there's one glaring thing that I see. So what you did was you basically gave up some of your key defenders or primary defenders with the Clippers and got a guy like PJ Tucker, who albeit is a good defender, offensively he's a liability. There are several games where he puts up 0 points. And maybe on this team, you don't need a guy like that to score. Maybe. But James Harden doesn't play defense. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard aren't available, and Kawhi can't play defense like he once could. Paul George isn't really a great defender. And Russell Westbrook, he's sporadic, he's crazy, he's all over the place, but he does play his heart out. I'll give him that. He plays with a lot of energy. So my concern, I think this team will put up points. My concern is defense. Because James Harden notoriously doesn't play defense. Like I said, Kawhi and Paul George recently have been dealing with injury problems. The last time Kawhi played... He's always had it.
He's always had injuries.
It was 2018.
Yeah.
The previous seasons, 52 games, 52 games, 57 games. He's not really that available. Paul George also dealing with an injury for the past couple of seasons as well. The last time he played, more than 56 games, which he did last year, was all the way back in 2018 as well, when he played 77 games last year in OKC. Since he got to the Clippers, it's been 48 games, 54 games, 31 games, 56 games. So these guys aren't really available for the Clippers. And now James Harden's coming in. Now we also got to realize this. Temperament and body language and sort of drive to succeed. James Harden, he's forced his way out of several organizations now. Could Ty Lue be the guy to sort of do what Phil Jackson did, a bunch of personalities, and have it work beautifully? I think that's another challenge on top of the fact that these guys got to have defined roles.
Yeah, if they don't win, those guys will all be unhappy, and that will be just like the Nets issue when they had Kyrie Irving and
Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Well, also you got to realize Ben Simmons was also on the
Ben
back
Simmons.
End of it,
Yeah.
So it wasn't pretty in that regard. So.
But how about put the trade back up there? So what do you think about the Sixers? What are they going to do?
I say right now. So Joel Embiid, he lost a pretty good guard in the regular season because I actually have a number here. In the postseason with Philadelphia, 10 of 13 games. And the reason why I say 10 of 13 games is the 3 other games he actually played well. Game 4 2 years ago, and then games 1 and 4 this past year against Boston where he played great. The other 10 games, that's where you get a little bit concerning. 32% from the floor, 22% from 3, averaging 14.5 points per game. So he's not this former MVP in the playoffs. He kind of dips off for a majority of the time in the playoffs. He had, 3 out of 13 games. So that's what, 25%?
He played very poor in the 7th game against the Celtics. He played poor.
Well, he had I don't have the exact number in front of me. He was like, I want to say 15 points or something like that.
He didn't do well at all.
He played horribly. But then he had those 2 other games where he dropped 40 points a game.
Yeah.
So what I think right now, you still have Tyrese Maxey. I like Tobias Harris. He isn't great. I think he's getting paid a little bit too much. But you have him at your forward spot. You had a lot of defense here. So my guess would be Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid are going to be your 2 primary scorers. Joel Embiid's dropping hella stat lines this past week. But you do have a young guard. You have a former MVP. Actually, a defending MVP right now in Joel Embiid. You reinforce your team with defense, and you get Robert Covington, who is a pretty efficient big man as well.
But how about I was thinking, and I looked at some articles that said that the Sixers will try to go get a really elite guard this year by giving up a lot of those picks and some of those players. And so they might be able to get somebody at the trade deadline, right?
Maybe, potentially.
I don't know who that would be, though. What elite guard might be available to them before the season is over, halfway through the season?
That is a great question.
I don't know who
would
be
available. and it depends on what you're looking at. Do you want to go defensive guard? Do you want to go more offensive? I think it will take up until about the trade deadline to figure out which focus you want to have. Because if you're a scoring team, you score a lot, but also you give up maybe too many points, go defensive guard. If you need an offensive spark plug, you go out and get a guy who could score a lot. So that's what you're probably going to look for. But I think right now, as it's currently constructed for this team, I think the Clippers are either the same or potentially worse. I don't think they got much better, strictly because based on trends, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, since arriving to the Clippers, have not even been available. They've played well when they've been available, but for the large part, they haven't been there. So I think even before James Harden got there, this was probably a playoff team. But now you have guys that either aren't healthy for the playoffs, or James Harden, where 10 of his last 13 games for the Philadelphia 76ers in the playoffs have been, you would say, pretty bad, if not awful. So I would say first-round exits. I think you show up to the playoffs. I think no matter who you play, I think you could be probably at the current moment. I understand that we're 3 games in. You are currently tied for the 5th seed. I think you're going to hover around there all season. The 5-6 seed, you may drop to the 7th seed. So you'll be playing, if I had to guess, because we both picked right before the season started. I think we were, 5 games in? We picked NBA champions last season. I think we both completely missed. I don't know if you had the Nuggets, but I know who I had, and I'm not even going to say because it's embarrassing. I will say. I picked the Portland Trailblazers to make it, I'm pretty sure. It was either Portland or New Orleans. I picked one of them because they were having I think they went 6-0 to start the year.
You don't want to go back there and talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. However, if the, okay, let's say, I'm going to try to guess. The Warriors have been playing pretty well right now. I saw a stat earlier today. Chris Paul on, Steph Curry off, the net rating is plus 31. A phenomenal line. That's what you want because your bench, when Curry was off, was horrible. So Chris Paul on, Curry off was pretty good. When both the guards are on, they're plus 15. When both of them are off, I think they're like minus 6. So it's not a drastic difference. So I think the Warriors are going to be top 4. I think Denver obviously is going to be top 4. I think right now Dallas is undefeated.
The Suns?
The Suns I think are going to be top 4. So what? That's the Warriors, Denver, the Suns, and then I guess I think OKC is going to do pretty well. So those are your top 4 teams. So let's say I'll give the Warriors the 4 seed. So it'd be the Warriors against the Clippers. I would take the Warriors probably in 5 or 6 against that team because I just think they're better. I think right now as constructed, chemistry wise, your young players are on fire right now. Curry just dropped 42 points. I would say currently, I would pick the Warriors to beat the Clippers in 4 or 5 games in the first round of the playoffs because I just think it'll work better. I think unless there's clear defined roles, everybody fits into the roles and in particular are happy in their roles because we were concerned whether or not Russell Westbrook would be happy as a 6th man for the Lakers. That was the big thing. How will he feel when he's the 6th man? Turns out to not be that great. He goes to the Clippers. Ty Lue kind of, settles him down and makes him efficient. So I would say as long as the Clippers, they set roles for their players and the players are happy in their set roles, I think they'll be good enough to make the playoffs, even though, that being said, I still think they wouldn't be in the playoffs without James Harden. So what do you think? First of all, do you think the Clippers make the playoffs?
Yes.
And since they make the playoffs, how far do you think this team, as it's currently constructed with your 4 powerhouse guys, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard, how far do you think those 4 guys could take this team?
If they're all healthy, I think they get into the 2nd or 3rd round for sure.
Okay. You don't think they'll make the NBA Finals?
Well, you mentioned the teams there that are pretty powerful, right? You've got the Nuggets, right? Maybe they would play them in the Western Conference Final, but you also have the Suns, The Suns and the Warriors, right? Those are the four teams that are going to be, I think, at the top. I don't think the Lakers are going to do much. Have they won a game yet?
They've won 2 games. They're currently the 9 seed right now at 2-2.
Well, I don't see them doing a whole lot. I think that they'll be similar to last year, right? They'll get part of the way there, and then they'll get in, but I don't think they'll go that far. So yeah, I think that the Suns are a stronger team than the Clippers, and I think the Warriors potentially can be a stronger team than them, and definitely the Nuggets are.
Right.
I see the Nuggets probably repeat. They'll get to the finals again, I think.
Ooh, okay, so that's your final. I assume you want to go Celtics Nuggets.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
And who wins?
I don't know. The way the Celtics are playing, maybe they could win, right? They're
the number 1 seed in the East right now.
If Porzingis is having a career year, then maybe they could. Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, Porzingis height-wise will match up against Jokic very well, right?
Yeah, but the question of Jokic, I feel like, is a much bigger player than Porzingis. So bodying him down, it may be a little bit dangerous for Porzingis to get into that. What I find interesting, and this is sort of off topic here. So John Morant suspended for I think the first 20-something games or so. Memphis with Marcus Smart. Remember the Marcus Smart trade? Sort of build up that culture. They're 0-4, bottom of the West. Just throw that out there.
Yeah. Well.
And once again, Houston is terrible. They're
so Marcus Smart's not happy. He's not a Celtic anymore.
Oh, he was shocked that he got traded. Yeah. So I don't know. It's pretty interesting to say the least. I do want to get into our next topic here because I guess I was half right, half wrong, you could say. So the Jets were able to beat the Giants in overtime after a Greg Zuerlein 33-yard game-winning field goal. However, there's a little bit of an asterisk on this game I'm going to call right now because Tyrod Taylor got hurt. And so you throw in Tommy DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
Who went 0-4 in the first 4 quarters of the game. He didn't complete a single pass. And by the way, I'll say this. Total passing yards in this game, -9 for the Giants.
Nice.
-9 total yards. So I want to know, based on the circumstances, they did get a win, but should the Jets feel good about this win?
Well, I think the game was basically watching people punt the whole game, right? There was each team punted like 10 or 12 times, I think. It was amazing, the number of punts in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an ugly game. Totally ugly. And I think the Jets are happy. They got to feel happy they won, right? A win is a win, no matter how ugly it is or what the score is. If you win, you win. So they got to be happy about that. And they obviously thought they were going to lose, right? I think the coaching was Brian Daboll's got to be kicking himself, right, in this game. He went for that field goal, and he was deep in the Jets territory, and he could have just run the ball there. At the time, there was how many seconds were there? There was less than a minute.
Yeah, I think it was
40 seconds left. And even if you ran it, missed it, right? Then the Jets have still got to make a bunch of plays to get down the field. So, and they could have taken, I just think that was a mistake. He shouldn't have tried to kick the field goal. I think they would have won the game if he hadn't done that. Then they missed the field goal.
Yeah.
And that, I guess, you look at Gano, he's been a pretty good kicker. And you say, oh, no. I think that's right. Graham, no. I think that's exactly right. That's the game. He came in and missed that field goal. And that gave the Jets new life, and they managed to get down the field. And I thought that Wilson made a huge mistake when he threw the ball to the player in the middle of the field with less than, there was about 10 seconds left at that point, right? And they raced down there and got the ball snapped and killed the time there with 1 second to go. He got lucky there, really lucky. And then they kicked the field goal, and then, they managed to get another one, and that was the game. So, in overtime.
So, I'm going to sound probably like a Giants fan for the next X amount of minutes because I'm going to say this. The Jets should not feel good about this game whatsoever. I understand they won, but you're telling me the Jets were one good coaching decision away. The Giants were one good coaching decision away for beating the Jets with a quarterback that didn't complete a single pass.
It was like, what was it, 4th and 1?
4th and 1.
4th and 1. Okay. Give the ball to Saquon Barkley. Huh?
And here's the thing.
You get 1 yard.
And here's where, I guess it's revisionist history. If everything on that Jets last possession still happened, if you run the ball, more than a second gets taken off the clock. So they wouldn't have time to snap it, time to spike it, time for the Greg Zuerlein tying field goal, and then sending the game into overtime. A single second was left on that clock. Even if you don't get it, you go down trying. You don't give it to your kicker, who already missed a field goal in this game, in horrible rainy weather, in the marshlands, to then try to seal the game. Try to put your team up by 3 and have Zach Wilson do basically the impossible. Instead, you decide to kick that field goal. By the way, you didn't think of this when Daniel Jones was injured to maybe bring in. I know we talked about it. They were looking at Matt Barkley and Ian Book and didn't sign any of those guys. So you were leaving it up to Tyrod Taylor, who was, I'm not going to say he was playing good. He was playing efficient. There's a difference. Efficient and good. Jimmy G with the 49ers wasn't all that great, but he was efficient. Brock Purdy, we've seen recently, isn't, by the way, spoilers for Friday. By the way, Friday, big show. He's not going to be in my top 10 list because what we've seen when it matters is he hasn't been efficient when it matters. Brock Purdy's not a great quarterback, but he works. He's efficient. Danny DeVito again. Screw with my head. Tommy DeVito was 0-4. In the game, he ended 2-7.
I think he actually played more like Danny DeVito would.
Yeah. They didn't have any confidence in him throwing the football. Saquon Barkley ran it 36 times for 128 yards, no touchdowns. They didn't trust him to throw the football.
Well.
And when he did, he was 0 for 4.
Yeah.
The Jets should not feel good. Your defense played very, very well. Both defenses played out of their minds. Zach Wilson couldn't complete many passes. The offense couldn't get going for either side. And there were a total, I have the number here. You mentioned it. There's a total of 24 punts in this game. 13 from the Giants, 11 from the Jets. Over 1,000 yards were gained based on punts. Over 1,000 yards of punting distance, which is ridiculous.
Really? That much? 1,000?
549 yards off 13 punts for the Giants, 529 yards off 11 punts for the Jets.
It's ridiculous. So you don't go to a football game to watch them punt all the time.
Yeah, it's especially
I
because
would want to ask for my money back.
Once every 4 years.
I want a refund of my ticket if I go watch that.
So I'm saying this right now. The Jets, yes, while you won the game, and yes, while a win is a win is a win, morally, this is a moral loss. Because you almost lost to a team with a quarterback that didn't complete a single pass. Now the Bills. Was it 2 years ago? They lost to Mac Jones attempting 3 passes and only completing 2. But at least he completed a pass. We saw Tommy DeVito go 0 for 4. He didn't throw the ball. He couldn't complete a pass. Brian Dable didn't trust Tommy DeVito to throw it. And when he did in that overtime, he had what? He had 3 attempts, 2 completions for -1 yards. He also got sacked twice. So, me, personally, yes, while the Jets did win this game, congratulations to the Jets. I'm saying this is a moral loss because you were literally one good coaching decision away from losing to a quarterback and to a team that, A, isn't good, period. You're on a winning streak, but the Giants are not a very good team, and their starting quarterback got hurt. Or I guess starting backup quarterback is Daniel Jones out. Tyrod Taylor gets hurt. They send in a quarterback. I believe he's undrafted. He doesn't complete a single pass.
I don't know where did they get this DeVito guy? Where did he come from?
He was undrafted from Illinois.
Okay,
he's a rookie this year.
Well, they should have known better than to have him as the backup for Tyrod Taylor because Tyrod Taylor has a history of getting hurt a lot too. Yeah. So they should have had somebody a little better than DeVito back there to back up Tyrod Taylor, and they probably would have won the game pretty easily if they had someone even, as you say, there's a few quarterbacks out there. Barkley, he probably could have made.
They brought him in. They also brought in Ian Book from the Saints.
Oh, yeah?
They brought in a couple quarterbacks and decided not to sign them, which, shocks me that you decide to do that. And instead you want to go with an undrafted rookie in Tommy DeVito. And then, you have so much faith in him. You allow him to attempt 4 passes in the main 4 quarters in regulation.
Well, even with that, they could have won the game if they just tried to run the ball there at the 4th down. And they made a mistake. Didn't they get a penalty?
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau had an offsides.
Yeah, an offsides. How can you do that?
I think it was
how can you have an offside?
I'm pretty sure it was a third
that would have
down.
ended the game, too.
I could be wrong, but I think it was a 3rd down that led to a first or something like that. It was a crucial penalty.
That was a crucial penalty,
they
too.
They could not give up. And you know what? They did. And then Kayvon Thibodeau said that he wasn't offsides. His hand crosses the neutral zone. It's offside before the ball is snapped. It was offside. So it was just bad playing for the Giants. And I don't know. Daniel Jones, I think it was announced he will be starting this weekend. He was cleared for contact, so my guess is he'll be in there. The Giants this weekend are going to go up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Jimmy G, we're not talking about that game today, but oh Lord above, Devontae Adams was, I think pissed off is not even the word that he was. He was extremely
he didn't play
frustrated.
well. I mean, he's pissed off at who? Is
Jimmy
he pissed
G.
off? He's pissed off. He should be pissed off at himself.
Why?
They threw passes to him, and he bobbled the ball. Could have been a first down, and he missed up on the pass there. I mean,
there was one bad drop.
He didn't play that well either. It wasn't all on Jimmy G. It's mostly on him too.
There was one bad drop, and then late in the game, I'm not on the 2-yard line. There was a free rusher. Jimmy G was going to get annihilated, which he did. I'm not going to put a lot of blame on that. But on there was another one where he had like 10 yards separation, something like that. I think they were.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. And just that was bad.
That one was horrible.
That was horrible.
You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of the 2019 Super Bowl against the Chiefs. I think they were up by 10. Emmanuel Sanders has a few yards of separation. I think he wasn't wide open, but he was open. He overthrows him by like 3-4 yards. That's what that pass reminded me of. Jimmy G was off that game, but he
didn't play well.
I looked at the number. He got pressured on nearly 2/3 of his dropbacks. 60% pressure rate. So the Lions defense did a number on that pretty poor Las Vegas. The
Lions offense looked pretty good too, huh? 486 yards.
Hey, Jared Goff was cooking. Jahmyr Gibbs was cooking.
That guy's a rookie of the year, in my mind, the way he played last night.
I would say he's definitely up there.
He's got to be a candidate.
Definitely up there. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, but coming up, did the Titans find their future long-term solution at the quarterback position? Also, we break down what went wrong and what went right for us this past week. And to wrap up the show, are the Patriots really this bad, or do the Dolphins just have their number? We break all that down right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the content.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Stephen Harvey. Good to have you in, and happy Halloween. This is the Harvey Hour. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic. So we're going to talk about some Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. So I want to set this up right here. So when we did our mock draft, we kind of said that Will Levis should have been drafted by the Indianapolis Colts at the number 4 pick. I believe we both did, if I'm not mistaken. Because I had Anthony Richardson going to the Falcons. I'm not sure where you had Richardson going.
The first round.
Okay, yeah. So we both thought that Will Levis deserves to be a top 4 pick, and then he fell all the way down to the 2nd round. And so we were thinking, Ryan Tannehill, what's his future like? I think Ryan Tannehill should have been gone probably at the end of this year, at the end of last year, wasn't very good. I think it was time to move on. They decided to stick by him, and so they still drafted a quarterback. But what a day for Will Levis. Will Levis threw for 4 touchdowns in his NFL debut. What an absolute performance. This was a Southern matchup. NFC South, AFC South. It was a great, Southern rival. I would say it's a Southern rival. You have the two conferences, but I would still call it a rivalry. Levis threw for 4 touchdowns in the 28-23 win and is already named the starter for Week 9, barring any unforeseen circumstances with sudden injuries or Ryan Tannehill making a miraculous comeback from injury. So I want to know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how impressed were you with Levis's performance on Sunday?
9.5.
9.5.
He had 1 fumble. Right at the very beginning of the game, he had a fumble there. The ball came out hot, and he couldn't handle it. So if he hadn't done that, I'd give him a 10. But 9.5. I mean, the guy really, he had 4 touchdown passes. It wasn't like he dinked and dunked, and they broke tackles and ran for a long touchdown. He threw the ball in the air on the first one, at least 50 yards, and he hit Hopkins right in the hands. I think he. All of his touchdown passes were very impressive. 3 of them were very long. The fourth one wasn't all that long, but it was a very nice pass. So I give the guy a lot of credit. I think I don't know why he hasn't been in there sooner. How come he didn't get in there sooner? Question. Maybe the Titans would be, their record would be a lot better. What's their record now? They have a losing record, don't they?
The Titans right now are 3-4. And how about this? You know what? I'm going to actually say this. Give him that 10. Well, I was shocked by this too. Malik Willis was in there during that first play. He was the one that fumbled the ball. So give him that 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. He gets a 10. I didn't realize that. I thought he was the one in there.
Yeah. So when I give him a 1 to
10, you get a 10, Will.
I'm gonna give him a 9. I'm gonna give him a 9.5. Because the yardage I don't love, but 4 touchdowns is insane. And also, I'll say this.
What do you mean the yardage? 238 yards, 130.5 passer rating.
I know. But I'm talking about it was like a 350-yard performance, which is going to be incredibly hard to do. But I will say this. Will Levis joins only 2 other quarterbacks, Fran Tarkenton and Marcus Mariota, as the only quarterbacks to throw 4 touchdowns in their NFL debut. Oh. So he was doing stuff that not many quarterbacks have done in the league.
The other thing I'd say about the yards, I mean, the Titans are basically a running team, right? They have Derrick Henry, so it's not like they were going to throw the ball every play anyway.
Yeah.
So to get 4 touchdowns and 130.5 passer rating and have 19 out of 29, I'd say the kid really started out great, and I'm sure he's gonna be the starter the rest of the way. I'd say goodbye to Ryan Tannehill. Bye, Ryan. You're done. That's the end of your career. He's old anyway.
Career.
He's old, right? How old is he?
Career. That's crazy.
I think isn't he his late 30s?
Ryan Tannehill is 35 years old.
Oh, 35. Well, maybe maybe as a backup somewhere.
Wow. I was already saying goodbye.
I don't think he's going to be a starter anymore. He plays poorly. I mean, he throws a lot of interceptions. He makes a lot of poor decisions. He has not been a good quarterback the last few years. He was pretty good. He was pretty good the first year he got to the Titans.
Yeah. I believe he set an NFL record for passer rating in a season. I might be wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure
he's fallen apart since then.
I will agree with that. He has not been good, and especially, I understand, he led the Titans to the number 1 seed in 2021. Did we see how he looked in that playoff game? His first pass was an interception. He had 3 interceptions.
3 interceptions in that game.
Horrible. I'll agree with you. Will Levis, what he showed this past weekend against, and people are going to say, oh, it's the Atlanta Falcons. They can't possibly have a good defense. They're ranked number 6 total defense. Yeah. So he was tearing up. And by the way, their main source of great defense is having a great passing defense. They're 8th in passing defense. So he was lighting up a pretty good pass defense team.
Yeah, he was using his big weapon, D-Hop, too. Yeah. D-Hop must be pretty happy.
He turned the clock a couple years.
That's his best game in a long time, 3 touchdown passes.
And what's crazy about it is this is like a Randy Moss number. So he had 6 targets, but look at this. 4 catches, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's like Randy Moss on the Vikings. Having what? 32 yards a catch.
And 3 touchdowns. He only had 3 out of 4 were touchdowns, and they were long passes too.
There was one short one, but he had several bombs like very deep. I'll bring up the actual number right now and how many he actually attempted last Sunday. So this past weekend, he attempted 8 passes deep, completed 3 of them for 3 touchdowns. His average depth of target, 35.6 yards. The dude was slinging the football.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredibly impressive. Not only
accurate, very accurate.
And what is extremely important for young quarterbacks, and this happened not to the same extent, at least in this game, that Mac Jones had. I always bring to Mac Jones because based that rookie year, the play action was working beautifully. They did play action on nearly 52% of Will Levis's dropbacks because it was working. Because Derrick Henry was able to run the ball, 22 carries, 101 yards. So when you have that beautiful blend of offense where you could run the ball very effectively and you could also throw the hell out of the football, this is the perfect recipe for success.
We'll see how they do going forward here. I mean, as I say many times, a very small sample, one game.
That is true.
And who do they have next? Who are the Titans playing?
So they play on Thursday night. We'll make our picks. I don't have a lower third for this, but we make our picks. They play Thursday night at Pittsburgh. So after the show, we'll make our picks on who wins and who covers what's the score. We'll do that at the end of the show. But they do play at Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett was dealing with an injury in this past game. Mitch Trubisky had to come in. Kenny Pickett is good to go for Thursday night. But I'll say this. Desmond Ridder, I think he dealt with an injury, but when he was in, he was not great. He was not very effective. And I understand.
No, Tyler Heineke came in.
Taylor Heineke,
he played pretty well.
He
played a lot better.
He literally put the Falcons back into
He made
this game.
some very nice passes too, right? Very close passes, and the guys caught them. I thought he played very well. I think he's a decent quarterback, Heineke.
Oh, I mean, he has this sort of. I mean, we saw it on the Commanders several times. He would come into the game and just sort of. I guess what's the word I'm looking for?
A spark.
He would brew up something special.
Yeah, a spark. I give the team a spark.
I said I think I said he had black magic because he would just come in and do something absolutely crazy.
Remember when he played against Tampa Bay in the playoffs there, playoff game? He hadn't played at all.
Yeah.
He came in there and he made a very representative case for them to almost win that game.
Absolutely.
And he got hurt and came back in and played when he was hurt.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure if the story if I heard the story correct, he had to postpone his final for one of his classes to go play in that playoff game. So the guy was still taking classes in college to come into this game. And then he goes to the Commanders, and every time he comes in there, it's like, no, he could do something special. He could come in and win us. Think about it. He also has great IQ because when I believe the Eagles were maybe 9-0 or 11-0 last season, it was Taylor Heineke who dropped to his knees at the very end, and then he got hit at he got hit, which drew a penalty, which sealed the win for the Commanders. So, and by the way, they also ran, I think, 42 times in that game. But Taylor Heineke is not a bad quarterback. The end of his run was a little bit weird with the Commanders. They put Carson Wentz back in.
that was strange. I didn't understand that.
It was very, very weird. But Desmond Ridder did not have a very good game, and I think we could all acknowledge he's probably not the answer at quarterback. If I had to take a guess, they'll probably be looking for a quarterback in this draft.
I say Heineke gets the start next week.
I think it's going to be interesting to see if that is the case. But I'll give a huge hand to Will Levis in that performance. It was phenomenal. And I think, really, because what was interesting is that he didn't get much preseason time. He played, I think, in the first game, and then he sat out for the other 2. I thought he should have played, and I thought, okay, are they just saving him? Because that's what a starter does. You either normally put him at the very last game, or you put him in for a drive or 2 in the first game. You don't play him throughout the preseason. It was Malik Willis, who's basically playing every single preseason game. So I thought, okay, are they doing something weird here where Levis is going to be,
they were thinking of him as watching this year and maybe have a chance next year.
Because they were, I think what they.
I mean, the knock on Levis in the pre-draft was that his accuracy is not that good, but that didn't show up. It didn't show up in this game, man. He was throwing the long passes very accurately.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, got to hand to him. First start against a pretty good pass defense. You go up and absolutely put on a clinic, and now you're going up against a pretty good Steelers defense. So I think that's going to be a pretty good challenge against a phenomenal head coach, a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, and Mike Tomlin. So we'll have to wait and see how the Titans play and how Will Levis plays. And not only that, it wasn't like the pocket was clean. 42% of his dropbacks, he was under pressure. And how did he handle it? He 42 yards, he had 4 completions and a touchdown. Not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Definitely gets another start. probably the rest of the year, I would think.
I would say that the Titans should
I think
say
it's a
Ryan
missing
Tannehill
link.
heal up a little bit.
It's a missing link for the Titans, I think. The quarterback position the last couple of years has been the weakness for them.
Right.
Right?
So
maybe Levis is the answer.
I would say he's definitely one of the answers. Maybe the Titans right now still feel like Ryan Tannehill is still. They shouldn't, because although small sample size still.
Right.
But here's the thing: we both had him pick number 4. Because
That's right.
He's literally the prototypical quarterback: 6'4", 6'5", 230 pounds, and a phenomenal arm. He threw the fastest pass, the hardest pass in the combine at 59 miles an hour. So the kid has arm strength. The kid right now, at least in this game, he has great decision making. I mean, think about it. His best receiver was D-Hop. Who did he target? D-Hop.
Yeah. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, no, he's not a guy who's going to dink and dunk his way. And by the way, short passes, I'll say this right now. His intermediate routes didn't throw him very much. He almost threw the same amount of deep passes as he did short passes. He threw more deep passes than screen passes and dink and dunks. So, he was going out there to sling the ball. He wasn't exactly out there to play he wasn't playing to not lose.
And actually,
he was going to play to win.
It's surprising that they let a guy who didn't play much in the preseason, considered to have an accuracy issue, starts his first game, and they let him throw it down the field 50 yards on on several plays, and he completes them. So I guess they have confidence in him.
Yeah, no, and good, Mike Vrabel. Here's the thing: the difference between what the Giants did and what the Titans did. When they need a backup quarterback who hasn't played much, or in this case is a rookie, you give him confidence. You say, throw that ball.
That's another thing, another coaching issue. I'd say on the Giants, another coaching issue. After you've handed the ball off 36 times, do they think that he's going to try to throw the ball down the field? No. Why not try to throw it down there once? They catch him off guard. They wouldn't. Well, they're certainly not expecting it, right?
Or at least throw it more than 4 times in 2 quarters. So it was definitely interesting to say the least what the Giants did. We talked about it earlier on in the show, but I want to bring in a new topic. So I was going to bring this up. I mentioned this back on Friday's show. If we had a bad week, we would do what went wrong, what went right. Yep. However, there was a lot of parity this week, a lot of stuff that we picked that was wrong, and a few things that we predicted that would be right. So let's begin with a brand new topic called What Went Wrong, What Went Right, with our first one.
What went right?
So Matthew Stafford, as I predicted, he was treading a very thin line of playing about average. He was playing it safe, and he was prone to have a bad game. Up and down and up and down. And like I've always said, he's consistently inconsistent. Well, in this game against the Cowboys, 13 of 22, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a QBR scale of 0 to 100 of 16.9.
Terrible.
Not good. And by the way, I'll say this, you had Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. All receivers, we know what Cooper Kupp's made out of. Puka Nacua, think about it. He's had a phenomenal year so far, and Tutu Atwell has been very, very promising when Cooper Kupp was out. He also had a very, very, very bad interception to a Deron Bland, who, by the way, last postseason, I was ripping on him in that 49ers game. But, hey, I said Matthew Stafford was prone to have a terrible game. Now, he did get hurt. I think he has a sprained UCL. I don't know. I think there's a question of whether he'll play this week. But as of right now, what I have to say about this game is you're up against the Cowboys, who weren't looking all that great. There were a lot of question marks of how far can this Cowboys team go, and the Rams couldn't do anything to stop it, and Matthew Stafford could not get the offense going whatsoever. So I would consider that. I called that went right. Let's go with the nut. Go for it.
Yeah. I would say, we were right on that. We were more right than I thought we would be, right? The Cowboys scored 43 points against the Rams, so their defense wasn't so hot either, right? So, I think when Dak Prescott plays mistake-free football, the Cowboys are tough to beat, and they have a great defense, and that showed up in this game, and their offense was very good as well, and I think they are the number one offense on the NFC, aren't they, in terms of points scored?
In the NFC?
In the NFC, I think points scored, the Cowboys have the top offense.
I'll look that up for you right now.
I'm pretty sure. They were as of last week, and they scored 43 points this week.
Not this week. They are they're second Actually, no, you're right. You are right. My bad. Yeah, they're second in points for, even though. Oh yeah, okay, no, you're right. All right. So I want to go with the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Currently, right now.
Sorry. Last week the offense was the 49ers had 201 points, but the Cowboys passed them.
Well, according to Pro Football Reference, they are second in the entire NFL. So
I'm talking the NFC.
NFC.
The AFC.
Their defense
the
also was fourth.
The Dolphins.
Oh yeah, the Dolphins obviously are probably
that 70-point game.
Yeah, so I don't know. The Cowboys, they may be starting something here. You know, with a good win against the Chargers, now a good win against the Rams. They play at Eagles. That's going to be a hell of a game. 4:25 this Sunday. By the way, that's not the I think they play in Germany. The Dolphins Chiefs game.
That's going to be good to watch.
That's going to be impossible to try to predict. This game, Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys, I think that's going to be pretty impossible to pick as well. There's some very, very difficult games to pick this week. But I do want to go with, sadly,
what went wrong.
We had one that's a pretty bad one. We picked the Chiefs to both cover the 7.5-point spread and to win. This case, nope. Mahomes, he tried to have a Jordan flu game or a Brady torn MCL season, and sadly, at least in this game, could not pull through. He had 3 total turnovers, 2 very bad interceptions, and a bad fumble. Russell Wilson and this Denver Broncos offense, albeit numbers-wise, wasn't all that good, and they gave up a lot of third downs. However, they were able to pull out with the 24-9 victory. The defense, can we talk about the Broncos defense? We ripped on them earlier on in the year.
I don't understand it. How could they give up 70 points to the Dolphins and then only give up 9 to the Chiefs?
Not a single touchdown.
It's hard to believe. I guess it was Mahomes being sick. I mean, he had the flu.
No. Here's one I'm going to credit to. Taylor Swift was not in attendance in this game.
Okay, well, that made a big difference.
Taylor Swift was not in attendance. Yeah. I don't know if I have the number here, but there is a very drastic difference between when... Okay, I don't have the number. There's a very, very big difference. I understand the NFL, they're really just honing in on this Taylor Swift thing. But when it comes to Travis Kelce, he is a very different tight end when she is in attendance and when she's not.
Yes, about 100 yards receiving in the game she's at.
He doubles his yards, if I'm not
mistaken. He doubles his yards. Yeah.
So, and I'll say this. Russell Wilson, 12 and 19. He didn't need to throw the ball that many times because guess what? Javonte Williams ran it 27 times. So when you pass 19, you rush it 27, you take the ball out of harm's way, at least you minimize the harm that Russell Wilson could do, either with fumbling or interceptions. But he did have 3 touchdowns, only 114 yards in this game. But yeah, Mahomes, I think the Chiefs should have been buyers, try to go out and get a receiver, get something at the trade deadline. They didn't, so they'll be stuck with Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, MVS. This is not a Super Bowl winning offense. I understand. You have Mahomes, you have Pacheco. But when you go up against a team who can either slow down or stop Travis Kelce, or Taylor Swift doesn't show up in this case, this team can get got. I'm saying that right now. This team could get got. But we did pick them to go and win big against this Broncos team. They had the last time they won against the Broncos, do we have the number? The first win over the Broncos had the first win over the Chiefs since 2015. We thought they would win. And the Chiefs could not get this win whatsoever. It was a ugly game, to say the least. What are your thoughts on it?
I was surprised, really surprised. I didn't think that the Broncos had any kind of chance to beat the Chiefs. When I heard that Mahomes was sick, that put a little question mark in my mind. But given the way the Broncos have played, I mean, they lost to the Jets, right? They lost to the Dolphins by 50 points. They played miserably, but I guess now they've won 3 out of their last 4 games, right? They're 3-5 now.
They are 3-5.
3-5. So they weren't traders at the deadline. They're hanging on to their players, so I guess they think they can crawl back into it somehow. So we'll see.
The Raiders playing horrible.
I mean, if they can beat the Chiefs, I guess maybe they have the right to think they can. Make some noise here. So we'll see. This.
They are 1 win away, and they have to play on a Chargers and Raiders loss to be the number 2 seed in the AFC West. They are 1 win away and 2 losses away for other teams to being that much closer to being AFC West champions. So they are right in this, at least in their division, to potentially eke out a wild card appearance. but that would also require the Jets to fall
What's
off a little
their
bit.
schedule look like the rest of the way?
So currently, the Denver Broncos heading into this next week. They have a bye week this week. Then they're at Bills. Then they're home against the Vikings and Browns.
Those are
Vikings,
two winnable
by the way,
teams.
just traded for Joshua Dobbs for a 6th-round pick. They
And
got
Kirk Cousins is gone for the year.
torn Achilles, which is brutal. And then you're away against the Texans, Chargers, and Lions. Those are, I want to say, 3 tough games. The Texans are easily the lowest one out of all those teams. Home against the Patriots and Chargers, and then you wrap up the year at Raiders. There's a chance.
There's a chance for them.
There is a chance.
There is a chance. If their defense can play like that the rest of the way, and Russell Wilson can play even average, they probably have a chance to win a lot of those games. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, and let's wrap it up with our final.
What went wrong?
What went right?
What went right?
We talked about this. Will Levis. Will Levis had a phenomenal performance. We each thought that he should have been drafted top 4 at the number 4 spot to the Indianapolis Colts, and he put on an absolutely incredible performance. And by the way, what I found interesting was that Mike Vrabel said that Malik Willis and Will Levis will both play in this game. I didn't think maybe one fumble and then Malik Willis would be gone. That's what I find interesting. You said that both these quarterbacks would play, and yet after one mistake, you put in Will Levis, and I'm going to say, good coaching decision.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel, good coaching decision to put in Will Levis. So I'm going to say, hey, we were both right. We both thought he'd be a good quarterback. He was the prototypical quarterback. The most NFL ready, probably not. I would either put it to C.J. Stroud or to Bryce Young at that current time in the draft. But he was that prototypical quarterback at 6'4", 230, and had a great arm, at least arm strength-wise. I think probably looking back at it, I understand Anthony Richardson was exciting, but he had completion, very injury-prone because of how risky he was playing, and he had completion percentage issues, which was the draft report of Will Levis. Bad decision-making, and low completion percentage. So, I mean, think about it. I think we're able to say we were right about Will Levis in this case.
Well, again, small sample size, but yeah, we'll take credit for that. We thought he should be drafted no lower than 4. He went all the way to the first or the second round.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of teams are looking at that performance last week and say, why the hell didn't we draft him?
Yeah.
Maybe even the Patriots. Huh?
Well, they're scouting. We're talking about later. They're scouting 2024 QB prospects because right now they have the number 4 pick, which is yikes. You know what? Speaking about that, let's jump right into that topic. So the Patriots, they did fall to the Miami Dolphins. It was a rough one. Mac Jones throws another poorly timed interception toward the end of the half as they were trailing, trying to get something going at the end of the half. The Patriots defense, although, had no answer for Tua and the motion-filled Dolphins offense as Tua threw for 324 yards and 3 touchdowns. This we talked about. Mac Jones, quarterback, should he be gone? Bill Belichick, should he be fired? This one, this seems to be a reoccurring theme here. Did this game have to do more with the Patriots' potential deficiencies all across their team, or do the Dolphins just simply have Belichick and the Patriots' number?
Well, obviously, you could say that the Dolphins have the Patriots' number in Miami, right? They haven't won down there in many years now.
I think it was 2019.
2019 since they won when Brady was the quarterback. So, yeah, they got their number down there, that's for sure. And I would say that Tua has their number too, right? He's played him 6 times now, won every game.
6-0.
And I don't think that's ever happened to Belichick, have a quarterback beat him 6 times in a row. So I do think, though, that in this game, the Patriots had some bad luck. I mean, they had there were 2 penalties that were called, which I thought were very bad calls, and Belichick was livid, and he had the right to be, right? And it was bad luck. I mean, there was J.C. Jackson in the here it is. Look at this. That's pass interference? Come on. He hardly touched him. I can't believe they called pass interference on that. Look. He wasn't hanging on to him. He was just touching his back. That's not pass interference. I'm sorry. That's a bad call. Very bad call. And then the second call was a tackle on Devontae Parker. It was a helmet spear. Watch this. Boom. His helmet right in his face mask. And Parker had to leave the game. That's look, right there. Look at that. They didn't call that? That's bad. The Patriots are driving there. You know? They could have had 15 yards more. They would have been right down in scoring position. That's terrible. I mean, I'm sure the league knows they got that wrong, both of those calls. And did you see any bad calls against the Dolphins? Was there any the Dolphins? There weren't calls that the Patriots got a good break on. There were none. So I felt bad for the Patriots based on those two calls. Those had an impact on the game. They definitely did, both those plays.
If I'm not mistaken, there was one call where they called a legal man downfield, and then they rescinded that penalty. I might be wrong about that, but I thought that's what happened. I think it was early on in the game. The Dolphins got a penalty for a legal man downfield, and then they picked it up. I may be wrong.
That was wrong, too. I forgot that one. He was down the field.
Yeah.
He was way down the field.
Yeah. So it was rough.
I mean, that way that penalty works, you have to wait for the ball's thrown, right?
Ball's thrown.
Yeah. So
I think you could be 1 yard downfield. I think you could be
1 yard, but 1 yard, if the ball hasn't been thrown.
I think it was 2 or 3 yards downfield, though.
It looked like he was down even more than that. That was another bad call. I don't know. I thought that was. I'm sure. And Belichick was livid, and rightfully so.
Oh, he was barking for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He wouldn't stop. So I want to break down one particular clip before I jump in on this. This was another time where things didn't work out perfectly. The offensive line wasn't protecting Mac Jones all that great. He did have more time than he's had previously, but he didn't have, uber amounts of time to throw the ball and step into his throws. I'm going to bring up the interception. They were driving late in the first half, right before the half was about to end, and Mac Jones decided to make a very poorly timed throw. So originally, bottom of your screen, that's Devontae Parker. Pop Douglas goes into motion, and that's his check down. That's his first look. Then he looks at Devontae Parker, and Jalen Ramsey nearly houses this. My problem is not with the throw. Not with the location of the throw. It was the timing of the throw. Because if he simply looks at that, waves it off, and then immediately looks to Devontae Parker, that's a completion. He took way too long with the check down. He sort of hesitates with the check down, takes another step back, and then throws it to it might have been Kendrick Bourne. I think it was Devontae Parker, but he had an opportunity. He's wide open. It's Kendrick Bourne?
Yeah.
Sorry, Kendrick Bourne. He was open. He was open. If you simply just throw off Pop Douglas and say, okay, yeah, he's not open, that check down's
show the
there.
one where Ramsey is running down the field. He had his back to the play. Right? He had his back to the play. He was chasing the. Watch this. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'll tell you this right now. Beautiful
Ramsey,
coverage.
There's Ramsey. He's running down the field. Oh, I'm sorry. Do it once more.
What, you want this one or?
No, the one that shows Ramsey running down the field after the receiver, then stopping and turning back.
But that would be the first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's a beautiful coverage play. He fakes out.
Ramsey, then he was watching the quarterback.
No, it's absolutely beautiful.
He watches the quarterback all the way down. He's running down, but he's looking back.
Yeah.
You're right. If Mac Jones had thrown the ball a second sooner, it would have been complete.
That's 100. No, and it was a great play because he was trailing Devontae Parker up the field because Mac that immediately, because it's a quick route, that takes Devontae Parker out of the play entirely if Jalen Ramsey's on him immediately. Then you look at Pop Douglas, who's in motion. You see that safety or that cornerback dropping down to cover Pop Douglas, so it's either an insane hit and a loss of yards, or it's an incomplete pass. If it were me, you see that when you look over to him, you see that defensive back coming down. You wave Pop Douglas off, and then you look at that second guy, who Kendrick Bourne at the time was wide open because Jalen Ramsey didn't make his turn back to Bourne at that time. So the decision to throw it to Kendrick Bourne was the right decision. Decision making is perfect. It's fine. I have no problem with it. The timing of the throw, and I'll say this, you bring this up a lot. You bring up a version of this. You're right. He does rainbow throw it, the lofting throw. He also likes to, knuckleball. He's got to just lay it in there. No real juice.
A lot
no
of
real
his
spin.
Throws are high. They're rising.
The risers.
He has a rising throw.
But not only that, they're like lofting it over. He's not putting a lot of spin on, not a lot of juice on it.
You know what? If he'd really zipped it in there, he might have gotten it in there anyway.
There's a chance of that.
He did throw it kind of a lofting throw.
Right.
He should have thrown it harder.
But this was another example of why the Patriots need work. They need work on all facets of the game. Here's another thing, right? We talked about it. It was very weird. When there was an opportunity, Christian Gonzalez goes down. A few days later, all right, let's go, J.C. Jackson, you're back in the building. They have no great. They extend Juju, or they sign Juju to a 3-year deal. They extend Devontae Parker. Juju with an injury history. Devontae Parker, who's horrible at separating. What do we see? J.C. Jackson got absolutely cooked in this game. He was the lowest graded defensive player in this entire game. He played horrible. Played absolutely horrible. A grading of 28.8. He had 9 targets, by far more than any other Patriots defensive back in this game. One more than Jonathan Jones, who also did not have a great game. 5 catches for 94 yards, and here's the big one: he gave up 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns. It was pretty brutal. His coverage was not very good. If you had Christian Gonzalez, might be a different story. But I think it was like the very, very last touchdown.
You know what they said about that? They said that J.C. Jackson, being a really big guy, right?
Yeah.
He's better in press coverage than he is in zone. And the Patriots are playing a lot of zone, and that's just not his forte. They should be press man coverage, and that's better for J.C. Jackson.
Well, I'll say this. You can't play zone against Tyreek Hill.
They shouldn't have been in zone at all. I don't know why they were playing zone. It's the same thing with Travis Kelce.
You can't play zone because guess what? They should have
stuck with man. They were doing much better with man defense.
Right. But with great receivers like Kelce, I understand he's a tight end, but he's a phenomenal receiving tight end. These guys will find holes in your zone, and then basically Tua just shoved it down to Tyreek Hill's throat. The last touchdown, there was motion, no communication from the Patriots defensive backs. Walk-in touchdown for the Dolphins. I think it was the very, very last touchdown the Dolphins had. There was motion out to the right. I forgot who were the 2 defensive backs, but there was no communication on who's guarding who. You had the inside receiver just do a simple post route, inside, easy throw, easy touchdown.
Yeah. Well, I'll say one more thing about this. We're beating up on the defensive backs here.
Oh, the offense is terrible.
But the defensive linemen didn't do so hot either. There's no pressure on Tua. Although Tua gets it out really quickly. There was a lot of comments on that. He throws with under 2 seconds generally.
It was 2.1 in this game.
Yeah. So he gets the ball out quickly, but you got to get some pressure on him.
Right.
They got nothing. The
exact number.
That's where they missed Judon. I mean, losing Judon, very big for the Patriots.
Absolutely. Also, Josh Uche being hurt also does not help you whatsoever. I think he had, 11.5 sacks last year? He had a phenomenal... Somehow he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
He hasn't doing much this year. He hasn't done much.
Well, when you're injured, you can't really do much.
Juwan Bentley got hurt in this game, too.
Yeah. But I'll say this. To put an actual number on just how bad that pass rush was, 12.5% of his dropbacks, Tua was pressured. No pressure.
No pressure.
6 out of his 48 dropbacks.
And now Kendrick Bourne is out for the season.
Kendrick Bourne tore an ACL.
So what's going to happen there? What are they going to do for receivers? There's going to be Juju and Parker, or are they going to be the starting? Although Parker got hurt too, I may have got a concussion.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty bad injury. But I'll say this: that was probably just like Jimmy G with the 49ers last season. This is probably the worst thing that could possibly happen to Kendrick Bourne, because just how Belichick works. Kendrick Bourne was trade rumors all the time from last year into this year. Trade rumor. Kendrick Bourne is probably, let's be honest, I completely disagree with this, but it's such a Belichickian move. Bourne will be gone next season. Bourne will be gone. I call it Damian Harris will be gone. Kendrick Bourne will probably be gone next season, and that is a horrible choice. Your wide, they're not actually, but your wide receiver 1 and 2, Devontae Parker and Juju, those should be the receivers that need to go. Keep Kendrick Bourne, keep Pop. Kayshon Boutte, we've seen in week 1. We haven't seen him since. I believe he was actually hurt in week 2. He's been a healthy scratch ever since. You put in Jalen Reagor, who is largely considered a bust for his entire NFL career so far.
I don't get that.
Bring him up from the practice squad. Tyquan Thornton doesn't seem like he's doing anything. I understand he was on IR for the first 3-4 weeks. But still, these receivers aren't really all that great. Kendrick Bourne was your... By the way, I'll say this again. Another layer to add to that why I think Kendrick Bourne's gone. Just like Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers was Mac Jones' security blanket. 3rd down, who are you throwing it to? Jacoby Myers. In this season, Kendrick Bourne has been, I think, the highest targeted receiver that Mac Jones... he's Mac Jones' security blanket. Just based on the trend of how things work, he's going to be gone.
He's gone.
I completely
No, I
disagree
think
with
the
it.
reason Myers went is because of that pass he threw in the Raiders game last year that was intercepted
You
for a
still think
touchdown.
Belichick is that
I do.
pity? Or
I do.
that
He
petty,
is.
sorry.
He's done it before. He did it to what's his name?
Was it Wes Welker?
Wes Welker. Yeah, he did it to Wes Welker for dropping that pass that would have sealed the Super Bowl.
And he's gone. I still think it was because of contract,
Yeah.
but you know what? You're definitely you definitely have that opinion. You're sticking by it. I'll give you that. You definitely sticking by that. So now the report out by Albert Breer today is they are really honing in outside of Caleb Williams because that's obviously probably going to be the first overall pick. However, they haven't at the moment, but they are looking at 2024 top tier quality prospects at the quarterback position. I don't necessarily love it. I think you still have 1 year on Mac Jones' rookie contract. You may draft one just to say, hey, you're probably going to be gone. Or you may trade him away. I don't know exactly what you do. But all I know is this team has a bigger problem than quarterback. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I agree with that.
You see what Mac Jones does with you don't pressure him on 40% of his dropbacks, cut that in half at 20%. He tears up the Bills defense and leads a beautiful game-winning drive. And by the way, look at that game-winning drive again. I'm pretty sure 3 or 4 of his passes, he was less than a half second away from either getting strip sacked or just getting sacked in general. He was throwing balls when there were guys right to his left and right of him, but he wasn't getting killed all game, so he had the confidence to step into his throws.
No, they need to invest more time and effort and draft picks, higher draft picks in the offensive line.
The offensive line is a major issue.
Trade for a really good offensive lineman. I think they got to invest. That's been a problem now for a couple of years. They've got to do better there for sure.
And I'll say this again because I know people are going to keep saying it. Bailey Zappi is not the answer. He got waived. He got put in. Literally, he got waived. Malik Cunningham replaced him as QB2.
They dropped him.
Then they dropped him again. But you're telling me that you're going to go from waived, anyone could take you, to then being to then being the backup, to then getting demoted to emergency quarterback 3, to then going back to the backup. If Mac Jones is playing,
he
this
is back
poorly,
to the backup now, right?
Yes. But what I'm saying is that if Mac Jones is really that bad, for you to get waived, get demoted, get waived, then get promoted back to backup quarterback, then get demoted, then get promoted back again, and you don't even have a chance to start, how bad are you?
Yeah. Well, I think they understand he's not the answer. So
amen to that. So
yeah.
All I'm saying is the
I
quarterback.
haven't totally
for the
given up on
Patriots.
Mac Jones, I must say.
Last year you were ripping.
Yeah,
on
I
him.
was, but I've changed my mind a little bit on him. I think he's suffered from the offensive line being poor, and Bill O'Brien not really getting off to a really good start as offensive coordinator. He's been doing a little better lately. They have been able to run the ball a little bit.
Right.
But, Mac Jones made one bad mistake in this game last week. He threw that interception. And other than that, you look at his stats, 19 for 29, 2 TDs, and that interception. So he didn't have that many yards this game. But you look at Tua, 30 of 45, 324 yards. I mean, the Patriots' defense was a big reason why they lost this game.
I would say
Right.
you gave up way too many big time plays. There were receivers.
They couldn't get off the field on third down. They had so many third downs. There were a lot of third downs. They just couldn't. They could not stop them.
The actual.
I mean, they
number
had
on
that
third
chance. They had the chance late in the game. They came back. They were within one touchdown.
Yeah.
They had third down, and pretty long and deep in the Dolphins' territory there. And they gave up the third down pass play. You got to be better than that. They know he's going to pass it. You got to get some pass rush in there. They don't have the pass rush. They just don't have it. That's why they missed Judon.
I'll one-up you there. Not only did they do, I would say they didn't do great. They went 5 of 14 on third down, but I'll say this. They did not respect your defense. They went for it 3 times on fourth down and went 3 for 3.
Yeah.
They do not respect your defense whatsoever, and rightfully so. Guys were getting cooked. There were receivers who were catching the ball with no receiver on the TV screen. And the TV wides out to like 5-6 yards.
In the end, the Patriots had a chance to tie that game up. They went down there and they scored that touchdown. They were within one touchdown. They had plenty of time. They just couldn't stop. They couldn't stop the Dolphins, and they had them on third down several times.
Yeah.
And a long distance. They would have had to punt, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's the game.
I would say It doesn't. I don't care if it's Mac Jones. I don't care if it's the defense. Somebody has got to make a play at some point in the Bills game. You may say it was the very first offensive play for the Bills with that Jabril Peppers interception. That would have been the play to get something going there. You could argue that was the turning point for that game. Immediately, the Bills don't score a touchdown after the Patriots only scored a field goal. So the Patriots aren't trailing and always playing from behind. They got an interception, then they go out and score a touchdown. You're up by 10. Someone has to make a play. I don't care who it is. If it's a Pharaoh Brown 58-yard touchdown, great. If it's a Kendrick Bourne 65-yard touchdown, great. If it's a Kyle Duggar interception for 24-yard run back, phenomenal. Someone's got to make a play. And no one's really stepping up and making that big time play
defense
to flip it around.
Hadn't had the turnovers this year. Haven't gotten the turnovers that they got last year. They had like 30 turnovers last year.
Right.
It's not having Judon in there is a big issue.
And
he's their star
understand.
player.
Kyle Duggar had an interception, but I'm talking about getting the morale up, getting them just get something going.
Yeah.
And no one can do that right now. I think it is time. I don't have a lower third for this, but I do think it is worth our time to at least pick Thursday's game. So we're talking. It is the Titans at the Steelers. I'll bring up the point spread right now for us so we can make a decision for this game. But before we do the point spread, just straight up, who do you think wins and what's the score?
This is a tough one to pick now. Will Levis.
Steelers -3. So it's neutral field. It would be a pick'em game.
Okay. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and pick the Titans.
I am as well. I would say this is going to be a defensive game. I'll go 24-20. Titans win.
I'll go 24-21, and the point spread not covered.
They're
going to win. Yeah.
I'll also say this. Let's move now to baseball for half a second. Rangers up 2-1 in the series.
Yeah.
But my player to look out for, Adolis Garcia, he's going to be out for this game. He had an injury in Game 3. For the Rangers, he's going to be out. So I think the Diamondbacks tie it right back up, and then that would mean winner has to play at least in 6 games. So I could be on a path to...
I'd take the Diamondbacks tonight, too.
Really?
Yeah. They're playing at home, right? It's a 2-3-2, so the Texas has done what they needed to do. They won a game at the Diamondbacks.
Just like the Diamondbacks won one.
Yeah, so they're going to get back to their stadium. So I like Texas in 7, I said. So we'll see.
I'll stick with my pick. Diamondbacks in 6. I believe. I nailed the first 2 games beautifully. I picked the Rangers to win, like I said on the show. Rangers will win Game 1. Then the Diamondbacks will understand tempo and what they got to do, what they got to figure out. They come back. They win 9-1 in Game 2. Now, was it last night? Different story. You end up losing that game. Mm-hmm. It was rough, but I say Game 4. You come back.
Who's pitching tonight?
Let's see. So tonight we got Andrew Haney for the Rangers, and then Joe Maniply. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Never heard of them.
Haney, however you pronounce his name. He's 0 for 0, 6 ERA, and then Maniply is 2-0, 4.26 ERA. There you go. So, not dominant players. Rangers, according to ESPN Analytics, 51.3% chance for the Texas Rangers to take Game 4. So
we shall see.
I don't trust, once again, I said this before, I don't trust ESPN Analytics. They picked the Knicks, I think it was a range of 65 to 85% chance to win every single game against Miami last season in the playoffs. They lost, obviously, so I don't trust ESPN Analytics that much. But I think for this episode, thanks so much for tuning in. Happy Halloween. My name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. Tune in Friday. We got a massive show, by the way. It's our last standings prediction. It's the last one. I do my Nate's Notch for week 9, I guess, entering week 9. Also, my top 10 quarterbacks entering week 9. It is going to be a massive show, so make sure you tune in for them. But for this episode, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's by Stephen Harvey. Tune in Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security.